There was a question that was asked on, and I know you're going to say Fox News, but it was on Fox over the weekend. I only saw it because it was someone put it up on Instagram, but it's a clip of an anchor asking one of the Biden surrogates about the emails and whether they're real or they're fake. And the surrogate says, I don't think anyone's questioning whether or not they're real. Really? Because I think a lot of people are questioning whether or not they're real. But if you're not, as a surrogate for Joe Biden, if you're not questioning whether or not they're real, then you've got to respond to them. You got to answer about that. Let's see what else you guys got. Bidens are a crime family like the mob. Trump is standing against this, so they want him gone. Do not make comments as truth when you not have the truth, no evidence that this is true. Well, the thing is, Kathy, it's not that there's no evidence that this is true. So far, the evidence that we've seen indicates that it is true. So what evidence specifically are you looking for? Right? So the evidence that the laptop belonged to Hunter Biden, well, so far the evidence indicates it was Hunter Biden's laptop. There is a signature on a page from a person who signed it in that is or appears absolutely to be Hunter Biden's signature. The emails on the computer, there have been a number of people who have the emails were sent to, who have been contacted by journalists who have responded to those journalists and said, yes, that email was sent to me. So the emails on the laptop are not made up emails so far from what we can tell. So again, you're saying none of it's true. Evidence, you said the evidence has not been validated, but pieces of the evidence have been validated. So the problem is Kathy, is you're taking this and you're saying, well, none of it's true because the entire thing has not been validated. Well, in journalism, as a journalist, I can tell you that's not how it works. That's never how it works. You don't say, well, here's a laptop, and we've got to validate every single thing we find in here before we can say whether this is the laptop. You would say, give me the first 5 things that I find on here, and I'm going to go validate those. And if they turn out to be true, then I keep going and I keep digging into it. That's what reporters used to do. That's what journalists used to do. They didn't sit back and just say, well, somebody will let me know if this is accurate or not. Because the reality is that the Bidens don't want this to be considered true. But again, the job of journalists is not, and what they're doing on CNN and MSNBC and what they're doing on ABC and NBC is to sit back and say, hey, you know what? None of this is true. It's probably from Russia. It's probably from Russia. Has CNN had one single reporter that they have asked to see the laptop? Has MSNBC, has NBC or ABC News, CBS News, 60 Minutes, have they said, let me see the laptop? I want to see what's in there myself so that we, with our massive budgets, can go through and we can validate or prove wrong what's in there. That's the job of what journalists are supposed to do. We're supposed to be pursuing truth wherever it leads us. And what's frustrating about this story is that the day it broke, there was already a declaration from tech companies that it was not true. And by the way, the people working for those tech companies who are in these positions are former political operatives who work for campaigns, Democratic campaigns. So of course they're going to say that. So what we need is, these so-called fact checkers that float around Facebook denying everything and calling everything fake news and false and shadow banning people. Those so-called reporters, fact checkers, that is not their role in society. The role of a fact checker is actually what we used to call a reporter, a journalist. That's who the fact checkers were. And Justin says, not many journalists left like you describe, unfortunately. That's right. They're not out there anymore because we have shifted away from journalism and instead we have shifted to a left-right paradigm where politics is a sport and the country's become a sport. And so you pick a team, blue or red, and now you compete against each other and truth doesn't matter. And listen, there's plenty of things. And if you follow me, you know that I am highly critical of President Trump on many of the things that he does. Highly critical of the way that this president is working actively to disrupt private businesses that are Chinese owned. Yes, I know China's the great evil, he thinks, but that are privately owned Chinese businesses that he utilizes the power of his office to interfere in markets and businesses. I think that's a huge problem. I talk about it all the time. It's a huge problem. And I believe that what he is doing by doing that is in violation of every free market principle there is. I think that this president is wrong in many of the things that he does. I was extremely critical of this president when he blew up a Syrian airbase in response to essentially what the media told him to do. Oh, children got gas. There was no evidence of that. And this president went after it and blew up a Syrian airbase. So I'm highly critical of many of the things that this president does. But I'm not critical of it because I'm playing for a team. And as journalists, we used to be in a position where we didn't play for a team, right? As journalists, we were in a position where we were the fact checkers. Our job was not to fight for one side or the other. It was to literally sit down and say what is true and what is not true. And if something like this comes out, then we go through it and we review it. There was a reporter from CBS News who asked Joe Biden over the weekend about this story, just asked him about it. And he was attacked, not just by the Biden campaign, you'd expect that. He got attacked by other journalists attacking him, saying, how dare you feed into Russian propaganda and this Russian disinformation by even asking about this. That's not journalism.